Do, 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 do. Welcome, kind, welcome, creatives, community, and kind folks to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and today is Third Pillar of Exploration. Thursday. Yes, every Thursday we delve into one of my favorite niches in the tabletop RPG community, and that is the exploration pillar, what is commonly known as the third pillar of gaming. And we've been talking about inspiration this week, and we're going to talk about some elements of inspiration in a project that I helped work on from N World called Level Up Advanced Fifth Edition, and this is the what some would call the Dungeon Master's Guide. It's called the Trials and Treasures book, and of course, we all know that treasures relates to magic items and some kinds of boons and discoveries and things of that nature. But I would like to instead focus on the trials, and the reason for that is because sometimes we can get a little bit stuck in our own heads or even atrophy the muscle of exploration in gaming in the first place. And I think this is a great place to start with being able to uh, be inspired even as we're at the table, because sometimes even the travel journey is a little bit off. Thank you very much for being here, co-host. Hey, Wayne B, what's going on? Thank you very much for being here, and I hope others will join in as well. So, what specifically is Trials and Treasures? Trials and Treasures is the book essentially for the narrator to run the game when you're talking about exploration. And exploration in this book has been we've kind of broken it down into three sections. So imagine you're watching a movie, Lord of the Rings. I'm going to use that as an example. And there are like three modes of imagining exploration. One of them is a view way out. Like you see our intrepid heroes as tiny little specks in the distance, and you get to see the entire realm, the huge mountains, snow-capped mountains, or plains, or a cursed desert, or something like that. And we're going to focus on that today. But then, if you, and there are rules for that journey activity itself. And then if you focus in a little bit more, we see our intrepid heroes trying to navigate through some kind of treacherous terrain, whether it's an abandoned city, again, an accursed desert, maybe it's a, a swampy region or a thick jungle or snow-capped mountains again, as they try to navigate through these regions, maybe down deep in the Underdark. And we get to see all of our heroes together. In one view on the screen. Maybe there's 3 to 5 of our heroes trying to scale a large world tree, or they're trying to navigate in waist deep uh, muck and mire down in the sewers beneath a city. And then lastly, there's combat, where they are besieged by beasts or mindless undead, and the environment has an effect. And so all of that is in Trials and Treasures. Now we're going to get into down in the bottom right. We do have our A5E dot tools, and that's exactly the site you can go to. And those are the digital components. But I would like to turn to in this book to something about journey rules and journey roles and things that players can do while they are going through your world, exploring your world, and going on their journey. And one of those is our something called journey activities. And we're going to go through some of these journey activities. And these journey activities are not class based, but they are you can take on a journey role, ROLE, and your players can engage in those. And the idea is that they take on a role, and there's a skill check involved as they travel through each realm of your world. And this isn't something that the players can, if I can use common nomenclature, and that's spam. The idea is that if they're going through a forest, you as the narrator can say, okay, we're just going to have the forest trip is going to take a few days. We're just going to make one roll and see what happens along the way. And then maybe they get to those mountains, those snow-capped mountains. And then there, again, some the rolls are modified, but we're going to do that. So these are example journey roles, uh, very broad, and depending on your world, you may even be able to. They give you rules on how to create your own journey roles. But let's get into the A5E tool set, and I'd like to show you. Uh, A, it's very easy to navigate, and B, I'd like to show you some of the features here. So this is the base uh, opening portal, and it gives you all of the pull downs that you need for useful pages and exploration challenges, the monsters by type, magic items, of course, by type, spell effects by character class, combat maneuvers, backgrounds and things for creatures and for character creation. And we're going to go to the rules here. So let's go down to trials and treasures. And here we have the trials and treasures, an example of what's inside of it. Of course, they would love you to buy the book, PDF, and hard copy as well. That image right there is actually this book itself. I've got the leatherette bound version of the book at the bottom right, and then there's the cover on the inside here. But if we go down even further, we've got the game mastery section. It tells you about, how to run the game, especially if you're brand new. We've seen a lot of this. We have mental stress effects, things, treasures, all those kind of things, safety tools, world building. But we're going to go down to the exploration portion of this. And as you can tell in the exploration portion, there are a ton of places we can go while we delve into it. But we're going to go to journey activities. I may show you some of these other things here: exploration challenges, social encounters, travel scenery, boons and discoveries. All of these are linked in with each other, but we're going to go with journey activities for right now. And a journey activity basically is like it's our montage, if you will. Our heroes are traveling across the accursed desert. They're going to the dark forest. They're going to the snow-capped mountains. Maybe they're going through a mountain ravine, and then we get to where we're going. And we don't really want to dwell on that. As a matter of fact, for the most part in gaming, a lot of that is just hand waved. The PCs arrive, and no matter how accursed the desert is, they always arrive like fully formed. You know, uh, no wear and tear. They've got all their food. We just ignore that. We hand wave that. Did they get lost? Nah, we've got things to hand wave that. But in level up A5E, we've done away with the easy button. It requires finding a haven. It requires using supplies to feed and water the mounts and the PCs. It's you can arrive and be fatigued and things of that nature. So we have some rules for the journey activities, and one is based on where you are at. So every region has a DC, a difficulty class, and it is based on tier level. So if you're doing a zero level funnel for your level up 5e, we have tier zero, and it goes up to tier four. And the tier one, two, three, and four. And in general, for tier levels, they run 4 to 5 levels of player character capability. So tier one is usually like first to fourth level, tier two is 5 to 9, tier three is 10 to 15, and then tier four is 16 to 20 in general. And then on here we have the experienced traveler. So PCs can pick what kind of journey role they would like to take on during their travels. If and they don't even have to do any of them if you don't prefer to use that. But if you do, these are the type there are a list of the type of roles they can have. And then you can modify the DC of that region based on like inclement weather, or whether you're trying to multitask, trying to perform too many journeys at one time. And what else is here? Oh, and hostile territory, especially if they are being hunted or there's a war going on, or there's specificity in the PCs being hounded by something. Now, they may not even be hounded, but there may be something going on that does make this hostile territory for them to even be here. So here we have a list of them. Let me get back into the chat. I can't see my own. Can't see my own chat here. There we go. Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you very much for being here. Mike, he's so funny. So I can hear you DMing now. Perception check, people. Table rolls, all low numbers. What do we see? DBJ prepping his attack. Hmm. Hmm. Wayne's like, yay, TPK. Yeah. Funny. Oh man. Wayne's like, I would use this book as background info in my head and use the make it up as you go method. Yeah, exactly. Right. There's no reason, there's no specified reason you have to be specific in using it. But if you're unsure, or as a matter of fact, if you've never done it before, there's a procedure for this. So quickly, I'm going to go through some of these roles that the players can portray on their journey and then figure out what's going on at the end of it. So here we have a list: befriend animal, we have busk, chronicle, cook, cover tracks. Again, these are journey roles. The player takes on this role as they imagine sitting around the campfire and you're traveling along or you're making camp. These are the things the player characters can do on their journey. There's entertain, gather components, gossip, harvest, hunt and gather, prey, rob, scout, track, and that's it. All right. So what are these roles? Well, sometimes we want to do like in a way you could even do these as um a flashback, right? So they go from A to B. It took them 5 weeks, and then they arrive at the tavern or some outback place or something, and it's like, oh, well, what happened along the way? And then you could even do this as a flashback and say, well, here's what we did, and then each player. Now, none of these roles are character class specified. Okay, so like befriend animal is not reserved for druids and rangers. It's just reserved for the person that wishes to try to do it. Now, they may not be very skilled at it, but they could perform that action. And with using these actions, we do have the DC and the appropriate skill available for it. And then there are critical failures, failures, success, and critical successes when doing that particular function. And it's possible right here in the center of the screen to achieve a boon or discovery along the way. And this the boons and discoveries here. There are other successful or critical successful things that players may earn. Is It's like the carrot. Instead of using a stick and punishing players for traveling out into the unknown or even getting lost, this is the carrot. This is, maybe we might find something along the way that might help us, and that thing doesn't necessarily need to be an object. It may be a person, place, or thing, or even secrets or some kind of information, maybe even expertise in learning about the region, or some kind of gift or benefit for them traveling. And that's kind of what we want. If we're adventurers and we want our players to adventure, then we want them to discover new things. Now, some of these journey activities involve interacting with other things, and others journey activities are insular. It's just with the group. So befriend animal, of course, there must be animals to befriend. And depending on the region, there are rules for, depending on what kind of region you're in, there might not be very many animals, or there might not even be many people to interact with. Busking is something where adventurers can entertain passersby with successful acrobatics, athletics, or performance checks. And there are, of course, are like critical success and failures involved in that, or even gaining some gold. There's Chronicle. That sounds like what it is, where someone just writes down observations, local landmarks, recording various customs, charting maps, and things of that nature. Again, these are not. You don't need to be a bard or a ranger to do this. It's just on your own character, and some of this requires a skill check, some don't. Critical successes, maybe they get a boon or discovery. We're going to get to boons and discoveries in a minute. Player can cook for the group. That's kind of fun. Great. Also, listen, these are excuses for PCs to kind of role play amongst themselves around the campfire, and we really want to enable them to to want to do this while they're doing these other things, and maybe the PCs kind of chastise each other or something like that. Cover tracks. As you're traveling, someone may be scouting ahead, but there might be someone else making sure that their tracks are covered behind them, especially if the PCs have, they're going to throw a monkey wrench into the lives of a society they pass through, so they might be hunted or something. Entertain. And then here you can see there's things like where you may gain levels of strife or expertise dice, maybe recover fatigue or strife. I think we went through this before, where in level up A5E, fatigue is like um, physical exhaustion, and strife is mental exhaustion. Gather components. Maybe if you're a group that really is into spell components, other members of the group can make arcana and nature checks to go out and gather components for the rest of the group. Uh, yes, the fighter can go ahead and do that. There's gossip, maybe talking to passersby. We have harvest, and this may be like um, the player characters are in a location where maybe they're in a farming community, or they have harvested their own materials, and the PCs are going through their own locations, or they've been like the druid in the party is like, oh, over here to the north, there's a place where we can where they've been growing mushrooms and things. We can harvest those. And then, of course, there's hunt and gather, which is very close to harvesting, except this is just finding things in the general vicinity. And this also allows creativity on the both character creation and narrator side to say, hey, you know what? Maybe my fighter isn't just the sword sharpening, bloodthirsty, I just want to beat things about the head and shoulders. Maybe they have something else going on. Like maybe that character that's playing the monk or they're playing the warlock is like, well, I'm not the stereotypical one. Maybe I do other things. And so maybe they are entertaining, or they can cook really well, or they are playing as the assistant to a wizard or something, and they can go gather those components. There's also prey, and of course, this is not limited to clerics or paladins, or in level up, they're called heralds, anything like that. And we move down here to rob. Yes, you can rob people on the path, scout ahead, and track other beings. But let's go to prey, and let's click boon. Maybe they acquire a boon in discovery. Let me get back into the chat first and see what our co-hosts have to say. Mm, 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 mm. Let's see. All right, what you guys have to say. Mike says, Mike says that'll be my gravestone. He made it up as he went. In fact, that should be an option for inspiration. Spend inspiration to have a flashback where missing gear or contacts are found. As a matter, l- I agree with you on that. Blades in the Dark has a flashback mechanic. And really, while flashbacks sound like they're complicated, I'm pulling. I know you're just being fun, but I'm pulling apart your comment, Mike, about flashbacks, because really flashbacks are nothing more than just a skill check, right? Now there's some role playing involved, and but the fact of something happening in the past or something happening now, there really isn't much difference, right? The classic I convinced the guard to let me into the gate could have right now and face to face, or could have happened 3 days ago. And you spoke to the guard while you were in a tavern having drinks, and but the results may be the same. It's either a success or failure, right? Um, but I like the idea of using it as flashback. It doesn't suggest that in the standard rules, but I would do that. Zamar says, "Oh, when it comes to travel, part of my random event table involves combat, but players can run across merchants and other adventurers, people of note, nothing, or even signs of previous activity." Exactly, and it- I don't, for some reason, much like the fallacy that experience points are about killing monsters, which has never been true. There's this weird parallel that's been running around, which is a fallacy that encounters mean combat, and that's not necessarily true. And random encounters, especially when traveling, is a shorthand to lore dump, especially if you have a great setting, right? If you want your players to know about your great all the work you've done on your setting, and you don't really want to give them 50 pages to read when they're traveling and they come across passersby or they see things in the distance or whatever. This is the perfect opportunity to lore dump on them, right? That's you want them to come across passersby that talk about the vampire lord that lives in a castle. You want them to find an old camp with dead bodies in it, and there's a scroll notes about a danger that lies ahead. You don't want to have to say, "Well, how do I tell my players what kinds of dangers are ahead?" Well, you you could just tell them, right? You could say your character knows because, or you can have them adventure and travel, and they find these things along the way. Mike said, "Have a had a half or ogre PC who was the group cook. They were fine so long as they didn't ask what they were eating." Yeah. Oh, fish fillets for breakfast. Great. Wait, where are the Kotal prisoners? We're missing two of them. Yeah. Opened up the fillet. Mm-mm-mm. Little lemon. Oh man. Zamar says, once my group found a cellar deep in the forest, though I ended up having it lead to a forgotten ruin of a city, I gave the players many variables there if they managed to get it out. Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes this is doesn't need to be a whole adventure. Maybe they just find a single room subterranean cellar. Maybe they find a monolith, just or a statue of some sort out in the desert. Um, maybe they find in the woods three very lifelike statues, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mike says totally stealing these for what I call slot fillers. Exactly. If you're stuck, you're like, oh, okay. They're going through the cursed desert. I don't even know what's going to be in this desert, right? And this is an opportunity. This is very proactive of the players. This is in their hands. Like, what do we want to do? How do we want to be? It's totally stealing these for what I call slot fillers. When you've got 15 to 30 minutes in a session to control pacing. Yep, telling a party you have an opportunity to cook flavorful food. They always did have that opportunity, but delivering that prompt is a microcosm of being good DM. I absolutely agree with you there, M squared. I absolutely agree with you. And again, this is the kind of thing that you leave in the player's hands. So if they don't, if your group, and mind you, this doesn't necessarily need to be encapsulating your entire group for 15 years. It could just be one day that they just don't feel like it. So you go, okay, you skip it. Okay, you go through the forest, you get to the other end. But maybe they're really into like role playing amongst themselves. And if you could kind of feel that synergy and you could sit back as the DM, as the narrator, and let them do that as one character decides to like cook up the Koatal prisoners, right? Or another player is like, yeah, I'm going to scout. And they're like, well, you're the warlock. And like, yeah, but I could still scout around the party, or there's always the ranger who's like, yeah, I'm really good at scouting, but I'm tired. Hey, somebody else do it. And it's a good opportunity for maybe just having some fun and being for the characters to be proactive. Now I'm going to go through this list real quick. These are boons and discoveries. So if they are engaging in some of those journey activities, they could gain a boon and discovery. And of course, you roll a d10. Of course, you can pick and choose anything from here. Um, that's appropriate. And it even tells you, sorry, let me move this back up again. It even tells you here, like, listen, if it's, use the table, but if it, the narrator should, where is it? The narrator should re-roll when a reward is too powerful or insignificant or maybe doesn't even fit, right? So you have boons and discoveries. They are divided into um, 10 tables, and then we have animals down here. So animals, maybe an animal follows the group or befriends them. I'm thinking like dances with wolves could be like an example of an animal that follows the group. There are animals separated by tier. So, a tier 0 group is not going to come across a triceratops that's going to follow them along, right? You want to make it maybe tier level if you want to keep some game balance. Blessings, definitely blessings happen with druids and clerics and the heralds, or maybe even the fighter that went out there and gained some kind of um, some kind of benefit. Like for example, here number 8, an air elemental impressed by the party lightens their burdens. Each adventurer increases their speed by 5 feet until the next time they finish short or long rest. And these are little things that they can gain. And of course, the whole idea here is to give a slight bonus or a benefit for wanting for players to want to engage in the travel instead of rolling their eyes and sucking their teeth and going, oh man, can we just get to the adventure? I hate this long travel, right? Followers, different types of individuals that may follow them. One here, number 17, a ghost of a fallen traveler finds the party and haunts them, pulling harmless pranks such as blowing off their hats and scaring their pack animals. Despite this, the ghost warns the party of danger and can answer questions about the region. So, interesting things. And all of these are inspirational prompts, right? You don't need to use that, but if you do use that, well, why is there a ghost? Why would the ghost help them? Maybe that individual was killed or something because of something he did. Herbs and medicinals, these are like little healing things and panaceas and things to help them. Number 15, leeches sufficient to fill one jar. Now, I don't know if they want to use those leeches, but they sure can. Mm-mm. You can even get basic healing, greater healing, and superior healing potions. But there's even hyper specific things. Let me see if we get to some of these herbs and discoveries. Um, uh, Things like lavender paste and spider bulb and poultice and yew claw bark, which are specific in the herbal section in Level Up Advanced Fifth Edition in the Adventurer's Guide. Maybe they discover something about a new route. They discover secrets in the region. They discover shelter. They gain supply. Supply for havens and supply is a great equalizer in Level Up A5E. Players are required to consume supply when they travel and camp, and they must have a haven to have sufficient and maximize their recovery. And so that's a great. Surveys wanted it. People wanted there to be a little bit more lethality in the game, and that's what we gave them. Then they can earn some kind of treasure, and then there are other unusual items. And there's a D100 table, percentile table for unusual things. Some of there are magic items, all that kind of stuff. So let's go. Let me go back into go to the top here. Actually, let me go back one and boom, 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 boom. Go back to the top. Go back to the chat. There we go. And then we'll get into then I'll show you some of the regions and some of the modifications to the regions because every place at the PC's travel isn't the same, but it you got to have a random table for encounters and such. So yeah. Mm-mm. Alley-oops. Hey, what's going on, guys? Yeah. Wayne brings up the perfect example. Like Wayne's like, encounters mean combat. That's so limiting. It's never been true. Yep, it's never been true. An encounter means you discover or come across something. Could be anything. Yeah, it can be anything. As we in real life come across encounters all the time. You're driving down the street, you look to the left, and for some reason, I don't know, there's someone dancing naked in the street, right? That's not a fight, that's not something you're talking to, but you just see it and you're like, that's really strange. But okay, I guess. you know, yeah. Mike Marin says one step further is quote, there is a landmark here. You can have inspiration like reward if you creatively tell us what the landmark is. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like sometimes even this like you mentioned there, M squared, he said, "Look, this can be a 15 to 30-minute aside, especially if you're unsure what to do and you're stuck going. Let's go back to the cursed desert. Okay, so maybe you say, there was a sandstorm and the sandstorm uncovered a monument and you tell your players what does the monument look like or how is it related to your character. I'll give you inspiration, dangle dangle, right? Like this entire portion of the game in Level Up 5e is exactly that. Like maybe there is some kind of like inspirational mechanism that you go, you know what, I'll let my players come up with that. I'll let them tie it into their background. I'll make it about them. Yeah. So Zamara's like, hey, you guys are making better pace on your travels. You, what hazard did you encounter? Yep, exactly. Player next to you, what skill did you employ to overcome it? Yes, exactly. Let them tell you. And again, it's a flashback, right? It's we know you didn't die, so let's give us some hints. And the reason for having a skill and a skill check is the PCs so we know the PCs will arrive at their destination for the most part. But if they failed their survival check, what happened? Oh, my character got their foot slipped down a ravine and got their foot stuck between a couple of rocks. Or we came across a bear and her cubs, and the bear tried to chase us down, and we really didn't want to kill it, but we needed to get out of the bear's territory, so we ran for it. Or we went across, we were going through the snow-capped mountains, and it was an avalanche, and we had to double back the way we came. Right? It took us a day. It took us a day longer. So, and as the narrator, you could just say, "Well, okay, well, you took a day longer. What happened when you had to navigate past since you couldn't go through the valley since it became covered in snow or something?" So, absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Alib says, "Ranger, hey, watch out for that stair trap over there." Warlock, okay. Snap. Exactly. Oh crap. The warlock gets catapulted over the canopy of the trees. Just my luck. No. Right? Ranger just shakes his head like, jeez, here we go again. As if getting catapulted is a normal consequence of not knowing how to travel. Like, I've seen this before. Zamora says, players, you are all tired from your long walk already and decide to make camp. While, let's pick two random players, start a meal. Random player three remembers a saying from their past and says it out loud. What is it? Yeah. Gives a little soliloquy. Yep. Got to do the little soliloquies. Or what's another word? Um, um, oh, uh, monologues and soliloquies. You tell me. And listen, entertain can be for the group. You can, get the group back up. End King. Oh, are we finally talking about horror? Cool. Not necessarily. Question. Mike says, question. These can all be rewarded with gold, blessings, boons, allies, lore, etc. Yes, but not all. Not are all the same, right? You don't need to necessarily hand out gold and treasure, but there's like one of the easy things that we have in the game, other than inspiration, is expertise. So you can hand out expertise. A player, the fighter, learns about the region, so they gain an expertise die to navigate through the forest. And again, if you have multiple methods of gaining expertise on one skill check or roll, then it's a step die. So one expertise is D4, two forms of expertise is D6, three forms are D8, et cetera, et cetera. And you can save them. You can save them up. The expertise is specific, but the PCs can save it up unless otherwise specified. So if the fighter leaves that forest and 2 weeks later comes back to the forest, they can use that expertise die in that forest. It's almost like instead of handing out magic items, it's like it's like handing out one shot items that are limited by region, right? Oh, you found a grove of healing plants, and you could pick some, but when you leave you don't gain more. You got to go back and get them again. Druden says, I find inspiration badly designed in D&D 5e. Most players will not need it since they simply keep the only one they have and never spend it, thus it is no incentive for anything. Yeah, and it we know inspiration was kind of tacked on because of the indie gaming world, but again, with using Destiny and Level Up 5e, that's one of the things that makes it proactive for players to want to spend, to engage in the economy. You want to spend things so you can earn it. So we want you to spend the inspiration maybe for something else and then earn it later on. That's where the expertise dice come in. That fighter who has expertise in that forest and leaves the forest never gets to use it unless they decide to go back to the forest. Mike Marin says, I can think of the inverse, such as lost gold, lost blessings, hexes instead of blessings, etc. But how do you subtract information or lore, make them have less scouting? It could be maybe the PCs are besieged by something, and the travel is to alleviate themselves of the thing, right? Like a player so, eats a plant that makes them sick. So the point is to travel to find some kind of herb so that they aren't sick any longer. I know PCs don't like to be weak, but it could be something like that. Let's see. I've started the PCs at level 2 in one campaign, just to have them together and know each other already. I started by asking them how they got to second level. That was a great way to get built-in family. Oh yeah, I always leave that when I've got players. I don't bother doing anything like that with rivals and story hooks. I let them make that up. Drew says, I mean, there is a reason why the thought about other methods to make it more appealing in the one D and D playtest. Yeah, yeah, we'll see if they go. They try to, and some people might shoot it down. Again, it could be an atrophied muscle. Like the way it is now, people just shrug their shoulders about inspiration, so they may not. The creativity to find out how to use it may dwindle if people just don't feel like using it in the first place. Yep, yep. All right, so I do love accursed deserts there. My mirrors, I feel like you love cursed deserts, DBJ. When are you going to bring up the accursed tundra? I don't know. You can't. It doesn't work the same way, man. It's like a desert's like barren. You have things like, well, yeah, I guess tundras do get covered and uncovered. I don't know. Maybe I like my PCs to be bucket naked. Maybe I like that. So mixes milestones and freeze. Yep. Yep. Now, in let's go back to these. I'm going to go back here to the A5E toolset. So within, sorry, within the exploration portion of this, like when they get a boon or discovery, they can come across NPCs. Now, the NPC could just be someone that just exchanges with them information. It could be someone that travels with them. They could find individuals that have been injured or hurt or captured or starving or wounded or diseased and all those kind of things. So I highlighted journey activities, but with journey activities, we kind of need regions for them to go through to bother making it even more interesting, right? So the regions are the regions are categorized by a name, and then there are things like what kind of terrain it involves, some suggested terrain, some regions that and the tier levels. Of course, there's a random weather events, and we do have encounter tables, and all the encounter tables are set up so that they are by tier level and by region. So no, I'm going to let you guys pick one. So we have a number of regions here. Let me move this up kind of in the middle. We have regions here. If you can't see them, they're names like Country Shire, Feywood, Fiery Hellscape, Flowing River. We have Unrelenting Marsh, War Torn Kingdom, Rolling Grasslands. And if you don't have to memorize these terms, but just give me like where would you like our people to go? I'm going to pick the desert. If you guys don't say anything, I'm going to pick this accursed desert. And you noticed I put the A in the front of the curse because it just sounds cool. Zamar says, my DM, a great man, catch him on Twitch over at, here we go. We're going to a little plug as Songwoven separates inspiration into two types. There is a single use inspiration point. All PCs have one, basically a blessing from the gods. Okay. And, your comment hasn't come through yet. Mike says, a cursed desert of shifting sand is perfect for covering over a lost elven realm. The terrain is the opposite of what's the norm for elves, and it may well be a cursed desert because of actions taken by these elves, damning a lush jungle to become a desert. Sounds cool. I guess that's what we're going to do. So let's go pick a cursed desert. Boop, boop, boop. And or it doesn't say accursed desert. Fiery hellscape, or let's see, which one is it? It is parched sands. So we have blasted badlands, parched sands, and fiery hellscape. So we're going to pick parched sands for right now. And mind you, I'm using a tool set. I'm not flipping through the book, but here the parched sands, we've got terrain such as desert, grassland, hills, mountains, ruins, settlement, subterranean, temple, tomb. So yes, you can have it, these are just prompts. So you could have parched sands in a subterranean realm. Maybe they go down in a, maybe there used to be a deep subterranean community, and but now there's just sand. Maybe the sand's pouring down from the ceiling, and a crack in the ceiling, and it's just filling up everything. Maybe there's a tomb. It could be next to grasslands or mountains. For here, it gives you a tier example. A desert region with numerous oases might be tier one, but most are tier two or higher. So it does give you a tier option. Like in general, if especially if there's there are oases scattered about, it might be tier one, but otherwise it's pretty harsh. And then the weather, you roll a d20 and then you could add things to it. Yeah, 1 to 25 is pretty much always clear. And then we have the heat, how it affects fatigue, how it affects long rests, things like that, such as traveling at faster than a slow pace is dangerous in the region's hot temperatures. And adventurers that do so suffer a level of fatigue when taking a long rest, even if they have supply. The use of appropriate mounts, such as camels, and keeping a light pack less than half carrying capacity allow for adventurers to travel as fast as a normal pace without suffering fatigue during a long rest. So the idea here is that if you don't have things to alleviate the heat, you're still going to suffer fatigue during a long rest. And then there's for journey activities, it's not possible to busk. Checks to harvest or hunt and gather are made at disadvantage. So again, we talked about the journey roles and things, and then we have our tier level and have of all of the encounters. Some of these are exploration encounters. Some are listed as monster encounters. Others are listed as social encounters. Now, in Parched Sands, there may not be a lot of social encounters, but there could be. I mean, for example, they're listed as monster. Like, let's go to the top here. So we have an acolyte or a bandit captain or even bugbears. We've got some travel scenery, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, cult fanatics and such. Just because they're listed as monster doesn't mean that an attack is going to happen. Maybe they are suffering as well. Maybe that cult fanatic got lost and just wants something to drink to get back to sacrificing innocent people, right? Maybe that bugbear tribe got kicked out of where they're at, or maybe it's a lone bugbear. So all of this stuff, and of course there is travel scenery, and uh, there are tables for travel scenery as well. And so this is just tier one. Lethal outgassing, social encounters. Maybe you come across a mimic or a mummy, scorpion folk, soldiers. And again, it just says soldier, but it could be a number of soldiers. It might be just one, um, etc. Maybe you come across a warrior band or a veteran, but there are soldiers behind them or ahead of them or something like that. So, and these go by tier levels. Parched Sands tier 2, all the way up to tier 4. And this is where you start getting into things like Rakshasas, a Sphinx, corpse, a god corpse, which is an exploration encounter. Yes, you can uh, make your way inside around a dead god. There's Jinn and Jinn nobles, a monk type character, aesthetic grandmaster, an adept, master adept, mummy lords, even a malfunctioning planar portal, things like that. So let's get back. Oops, there we go. Let's go back one. I'm going to go back to the top and then go back one, and then let's pick something else. It's sorry, it's better this way. Um, War torn kingdom, something different. Haunted lands. Someone mentioned horror. Let's go to haunted lands. And here at haunted lands, same thing. Any type of terrain, talks about tier levels, suggested tier levels, especially higher tiers, weather, roll a d20. Now, the reason why it goes from 1 to 25 instead of 1 to 20 is because if previously maybe there's some a reason, like maybe there it's been overcast or you have a weather event and you can add +5 to it, so that because maybe it's more likely to continue to be foggy or rainy or snow or something like that. Uh, bleak light, night terrors, suspicious minds, and these this is general for the entire haunted area. And then here in journey activities, the entertain activities made with disadvantage, the prey activities made with disadvantage if your deity has the good alignment, that kind of thing. So, yep, suspicious minds. People who inhabit this area are wary and suspicious of strangers. Adventurers have disadvantage on charisma checks made against people local to the region because they just don't trust you. They just don't trust you. And then, of course, tier 0 and tier 1, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of monsters, a little bit mix in some exploration, come across things. Especially if you go to places like the Feywild, if you go to a country shire, you're going to get a lot more um, country shire, open roads, Feywild, and urban townships. You're going to get a lot more social encounters. Rolling grasslands, the same thing. So, let's see, country shire, and then we'll get back into our co-hosts here. So tiers usually 0 or 1. Unusual to find tier 3 or 4 country shires, but they exist. And then tier 0, you're going to see a lot more exploration, monsters, a lot of good aligned, neutral and good aligned monsters, blink dogs and things like that, fairy dragons, soldiers, maybe a wolf or two. So, okay, let's get back into what our co-hosts have to say. Sorry about that. Um, Let's see what our co-hosts. Yeah, Mike's like, a world that's the corpse of a dead god is rife with story. Like, well, why is there a dead god sitting here? It's one thing. Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah. Mike says a word like haunted is stuffed with subtext. Why is it haunted? How is it haunted? Who haunts it? Or what? How long has it been haunted? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yep. What was it before it was haunted? Right, right. I mean, and here's the thing. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean a haunted place was caused because of evil. What if a huge war band of good aligned knights in armor slayed all the people here? Maybe there were some innocent people and they're all like, I'm pissed off. Why'd they kill me? Mike Marin says has all given me some fantastic ideas about game structure. We're all used to 2 to 4 hour weekly game, but what about a daily 30-minute campfire encounter game like a crossword or a Wordle? Yeah, exactly. Could be good for PvP or internet forum games. Exactly. And listen, the encounter doesn't need to be combat. The encounter is the encounter. What the PCs do based on whatever they want to do. I'm gonna see if your comment pops up in full. Yeah, yeah, let's it come in full. Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, we all know it's super difficult to arrange a game, but imagine if we rethink the 2 to 4 hour game, like you said, a half hour, the campfire game. There are people who honestly just want to role play. They don't even want to roll dice. Now, I'm not saying you have to do it that way, but yeah, there are some things that we don't want to roll any dice. So let's go back to I'm gonna try to find. You know what? Let's go find that dead god's corpse. Exploration challenges. Let's see. Supernatural. And oh, this is the tool where you can. Mm, there we go. God corpse. Here we go. It is a. Okay, so I'm going to go back at the top a little bit so you understand what these numbers mean. There is the name of the exploration challenge, tier level, the challenge DC. general DC and what type it is and how much of an area it accommodates. So some of these, like a divine war, this is one of my favorite because I got to write this and I got to put it in my book, cover an entire region. Some of these are immediate. It's just right in front of you. And if you just avoid it, you don't have to worry about it. So let's click the God Corpse. And here we go. In Level Up 5th edition, I didn't actually decide to go here, but thank you guys for bringing it up. Um, in Level Up 5th edition, we've designed exploration encounters just like monster encounters, except for the most part, you can't hit it with a and heat it, beat it around the head and shoulders. You're going to have to be creative to navigate through it, around it, or in or whatever, or get through it, in it, around it, blah blah blah. So Tier 4 Supernatural, Challenge 17, usually has a DC 21, but it can be brought down to 17. You'll see when you read through it. It's immediate, meaning like it'll take less than an hour to navigate around it if your player characters don't want to engage in it. And then it gives you an example of what it is. The skyline is broken by the massive, jagged silhouette of an impossibly enormous humanoid's ribcage. A shattered skull and massive femurs are embedded into the ground around it. Those with access to divine magic sense that some kind of action is needed. And then we have aligned casting. We have an alignment of what alignment the godling is, what kind of moral outlook they have. The cause of death with a random roll. We have the domain of the god that fell. The locus of power for that dead god. God corpses frequently draw out or errantly beckon certain creatures of up to challenge rating 10. What creatures appear near the god corpse are determined by its alignment. And so if it's evil, it's usually fiends or undead. If it's neutral, it's aberrations or fae. And if it's good, celestials or plants. And then there's a nearby shrine. An adventurer can make a history check to know of a shrine to the god within 7 hours or 2d6 hours of travel. Making an offering of 1,000 gold at the shrine grants all participants in the ritual an expertise die on checks made involving the god corpse. And you would only know this with history checks, and that involves PCs traveling and poking around instead of going, the corpse of a dead god, we're not touching that. Right? They might find something. And then here's some solutions: critical failures, failures, successes, and critical successes. Of course, we talked about strife, some type of attack or saving throws if they're cursed. There's an active ritual, um, you know, or you suffer a level of strife. Maybe there's boons or discoveries. And remember, strife is mental exhaustion. It's like kind of like sanity in Call of Cthulhu. And leave it be. Yeah. If the party abandons the god to its fate, their disregard offends its lingering essence, triggering a critical failure. So, guess what? Maybe you need to figure out what's going on here and appease what happened. And this is a whole story unto itself. Who killed this dead god literally could be a whole adventure unto itself. But yeah, that's kind of one of the things. And we have a whole host of these. Let me go to the Divine War because I gotta pat myself on the back here a little bit. Mind you, this is it didn't go verbatim. A bunch of people had had to do with this, so it wasn't just like I wrote this down and slapped it in there. No, 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 no. We had like 30 plus people going over this, like 5 editors and rewriters and things like that. But I love it. So anyway, uh, the skies rain blood and bolts of necrotic lightning strike the earth as celestials and fiends clash overhead in a battle of truly epic proportions, filling the sky with divine violence. Swarms of angels trace blinding radiance as demons and devils spout hellish flames in pursuit. And for every lance of pure light cast down onto the conflict from the clouds above, there is a swarm of darkness that rises up to consume it. And essentially, this is like the PCs are not necessarily in the divine war, they're just there. And then there's like magical effects. You realize the danger, some solutions. Only something as powerful magic as a wish can delay the battle long enough for them to leave the region. But that only just delays it a little bit. So even a wish spell is only going to stop it for a minor point of time. And then we have random effects um, from a fiendish effect from the fallen, or fiendish effect from harmful blasts, celestial restorative ray, or celestial stunning utterance. It's kind of cool, kind of cool. Celestial sunbursts, either, and this is either celestial or fiendish lethal utterance or exsanguinating horror. Two of the divine combatants from above swoop down amidst a furious duel, soaring past the target. Creatures able to witness the unfiltered purity and depravity of celestials and fiends sliced open in a gruesome display. Each creature in a 30-foot radius, including the target, makes a wisdom saving throw, becoming frightened for 1 minute on a failure. At the end of every round, a frightened creature repeats the saving throw, taking 22 or 4d10 psychic damage on a failure or ending the effect on itself on a save. And yes, when you go through this, you may be randomly targeted. One way when using these exploration challenges is players could avoid these and then later on come back to a place where it still exists and use it to their advantage if their enemies are not adapted to that particular encounter. So let me get back into the to our let's see, locus of power. Is that a typo or intended? No, it was intended. Yep, combining a shopping session with a road encounter and a hag. This could go any number of ways. Oh, yeah. Zamarch as well. West Marches was actually the revival of the old playstyle, but I get what you mean. Of talking about like going through, yeah, West Marches was kind of like, hey, let's not make a story. Let's actually play an encounter where we go hex to hex, and the story becomes emergent. Mm-mm-mm. Mike says maybe a caravan of many PCs encountering events. If you're trying to sort out flaky players, only certain players hit that encounter based on who's around. Could be the next West Marches. Yeah. Yep. 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 And honestly, the idea behind this is this isn't this wasn't intended to replace the adventure. This is intended to be like, okay, all you guys make up these are world builders, period. And in your world, there are some places that have there is a an overlay of sorts. Is it horrible? Is it dangerous? Are there lacking resources? Is there a war going on? And the point of having this available is so that, hey, listen, um ooh, here we go. By the way, if we're going to bother having, uh, exploration, and you really don't want to delve into it, what was it like traveling from A to B? Right. That way, at least the player characters know, like, okay, if we're going through a place that's war torn, a war torn kingdom, maybe it should feel like there's war and the kingdom's been torn. And so you can have those encounters, and it feels like they went from A to B. And these can take 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Um, again, the pacing is modified by the narrator, not the players. So, for example, let's say you want them to travel through 3 regions, and those region levels can be as large or as small as you want. So, you want them to go past. Okay, so in one, there are 2 kingdoms. So, one kingdom you're calling that a country shire, and another kingdom you're calling it uh, what's a good one? Not Tangled Forest, Open Roads. Okay, so country near Kingdom A, we're just going to label that a country shire. Kingdom B is Open Roads, and between them there's a war torn kingdom in between, and they're fighting over the same territory. So what do? You have them. Hey, what kind of journey activity are you doing? Okay, they pick their journey activity. You pick the location. You modify some of their activities. Like for example, in a country shire, what are some journey activities that are modified? Adventure journey activities. Adventurers gain advantage on checks made to busk, chronicle, gossip, harvest, and rob. So if they decide to do any of those journey activities, give them advantage on that die check, right? Friendly locals. Adventurers gain an expertise die on charisma checks made against people local to the region, right? So if um, if the players are friendly, there's friendly locals, and the people are there, and they talk to them. They'll have a conversation. Sure, they love to gossip with you, or you can write down some notes because you had a conversation with them there. Sure, and again, here we talk about havens. The whole of this area counts as a haven. Travelers can always recover from fatigue and strife when taking a long rest, even when camping. right? So it's pretty easy. But then we go, but then, you know, they've assembled on the border and then there's a war torn kingdom. So we have our second role. And again, this could take 2 minutes because maybe the PCs don't want to engage in it, or this can be a whole role playing session. So again, journey activities, bucks. The busk journey activity is made with disadvantage due to the worry and suspicious nature of other travelers. There might be other travelers in the war torn region. There, you could come across soldiers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is zero T for a war torn kingdom. It could be a blizzard. Maybe there's bandits and commoners, cultists, there's travel scenery, cutthroats, a lone horse, maybe, or maybe someone leading horses into the battle or or whatnot. Knolls could be maybe they're just like hell. We're getting the hell out of here, right? They're running, or maybe they're looking for victims. Bridge of stones. That's an exploration. What is a bridge of stones? You know, the end of hibernation for some monsters or animals or whatnot. All that kind of stuff. So yeah, long story short, it's the the journey activities is a thing to allow the PCs to um, the player characters to be proactive. The regions are a way for us world builders to kind of describe what it's like to travel from A to B, and then in between we get a couple of die rolls. Sometimes you might not need the die rolls. Maybe you're just going to let them have it if they even bother to explore. This is a good way I hate to say this, but this is a good way to teach your players a little bit of a lesson in the sense of maybe you should talk to people, maybe you should explore, maybe it's better not to just get into a fight because they may learn, maybe they learn that there's a basilisks or cockatrices are um, in this region. You know, again with getting back to here, let's go to Unrelenting Marsh. All right. So if we go to Unrelenting Marsh, you're going to see go to tier 0. You're going to see a bunch of monsters. And most people think, "Oh, monster, it must be a fight." Not necessarily, cuz let's go to cockatrice. If we hit the cockatrice, we go down here, there's actions, there's reactions to combat, but guess what? We have lore that the players might find out about before they even see the damn thing. There's some descriptions. There are some behaviors that it has that is listed for level up 5th edition in a monstrous menagerie. There are signs that they may come across before they even encounter that monster. So it's not about them turning the corner and go, oh, there's 2d4 cockatrices. Let's roll for initiative. No, 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 no. This isn't about that. This is about signs that they might encounter. This is about some of the behaviors if they see it from a distance. It's about learning some lore. It's about learning some lore that is for that creature. So level up 5th edition has you covered. Let's get back to here and before we get out of here. Ba, 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 da, ba. There we go. Thank you, there, Mike. Mm, Let's get back into it. So Mike says, getting back to that world is the corpse of a dead god. This plays into it. Flashbacks for divine or warlock characters could entail memories of this dead god from his existence and death. Oh, absolutely. So witnessing that battle feeds into it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hell yeah. Uh, Mike says, so witnessing, I'm sorry. Mike says, this session has given me so many good ideas. Cheers, guys. Hey, have a great one. Everybody wish list this book. Yeah, uh so basically Mike says AJ Pickett is a great resource on monster behavior. Hell yeah. His video on wyverns was fantastic for things like this cockatrice entry. Every single monster in the monstrous menagerie from level up has behaviors, signs, lore, um, combat what do you call like a suggestion on what kind of combat it engages in. So every single monster is like that. So let me see if I can I'm just going to show this at the very end here. Nope, we're not leaving. We are going to go here. So Monstrous Menagerie, it's a book. It's the monster book. Blah 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 blah. Get the book. Let's go to the monster list. You can get any kind of monster you want. Can search for it. This is all in alphabetical order. You can this is I'm using the digital tools, by the way. A5E dot tools. A, the number five, the letter E dot tools. Let's pick something random. Dragons, boring, boring, boring. Um Alchemist, those are people. Let's go to a monster. Alpha werewolf. General werewolf, some regions it might handle in. You got your stats. Okay, blah blah blah. We got the stats. We know that. That's when combat starts. Does give you some examples on how to use it in combat, but you go down here, legends and lore before you even encounter them. A description, behaviors that it may have. Right? Maybe it doesn't even attack on its own. Maybe it's just hiding in an ambush. Maybe it's scouting for its family or tribe, or for an evil overlord. Right? It doesn't. Every monster isn't like, oh, go after the PCs. Maybe it's got settlement behavior. What is it doing there? Here are some signs before you even um, go after it. Carcass of a deer or wild pig. Maybe the PCs are like, oh, maybe it's just a wolf in the area. Or maybe they find something else. DC 14 perception check. The snapping of twigs, right? Maybe the werewolf runs away. Settlement signs. Animal tracks that turn human. A local crackpot claims to have seen a monstrous beast. People speaking in hushed voices about a rash of gruesome killings. And listen, this one little, I'll highlight this one. People speaking in hushed voices about a rash of gruesome killings. This could be the thing after you roll werewolf, right? So you roll werewolf on the table. You go, okay, there's a werewolf. Let's look up the werewolf, but the werewolf isn't there. Actually, the PCs come across people speaking hushed voices, and maybe there's some random killings. Maybe the killings are nearby, and they're like, shh. PCs come along. Hey, what are you guys talking about? you know, all this kind of stuff. Animal footprints. So maybe the werewolf is in the area, but it's not automatically a combat. And then there are different types of CR levels. Maybe they're CR 5 to 10. Maybe there's like two werebears, some black bears. Mix it up, werewolves and an alpha werewolf. So it's already made here for the math has already been done for you. And there's a monster description. So no, people didn't want automatic. Hey, let's roll for combat. It very much was. Hey guys, let's give enough tools for narrators. That's what they're called here, not dungeon masters or game masters. Uh, question: what do cockatrice eggs taste like? I don't know. I got that. It tastes a little bit granular. Got a little sand, but there's some marble in it. Oh, I broke a tooth. Damn it. I don't know what it tastes like. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for being part of the show. Thank you very much for being for taking part in Third Pillar Thursday, Third Pillar of Exploration. Thank you very much. Yeah, Wayne says the werewolf is a PC's pet, whatever. It could be. Didn't know it. Although it'd probably be a pretty big dog for a while there. Unless the human being that was a werewolf was like, stop making me your pet. Stop it. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I got to get out of this place. But we will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to go over Cyborg, a Morkborg hack for Future Friday. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for being part of the show. I appreciate it. Everyone have a great day. I'll see you later. Peace. Hey, Wayne, you have a great one too. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Wayne. Let's see if it'll show up. Yay! It showed up. Yeah, they're starting to show up now. Yes, the monster menu all. Gotta put a link to that somewhere. Mm-mm-mm. Thank you, Z. I will. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. And lastly, thanks for the time, everyone. Cockatrice eggs. Cockatrice eggs are mentioned in the menu all. Got to go over that one day, one of these days. Maybe we'll do that Monster Monday. Peace.